Batman-like logo. In here, we're going to learn to make symmetrical drawing and also learning to do simple snapping. Okay, start with the pen tool just like before. Make sure the fill color is set to empty and use black color for the stroke. Click drag in here and press shift so the handle will be perfect horizontal. Then click in here, then in here, then in here. Click drag in here, and after we have approximately good curve, press and hold Alt and try to move to around this position. Then click drag in here. Press Alt again and keep doing this pattern until we have tail in the center. There are no new techniques we've used in here. They are all the same things we've discussed before. If you still have problem with this, then I suggest you do more practices until you can master it. Because in the coming lessons, all of this will not be discussed anymore, and I will assume you're already familiar with this technique, okay? We have half of the Batman logo finished. Now it is time to make the other half. We're going to duplicate and flip it so we have a perfect symmetrical shape. But before we can do that, we want to make sure that these anchor points at the top is in line with this one. To do that, we can use different methods, but for now, we're going to use copying and pasting coordinates. So select these anchor points with the direct selection tool and copy this X coordinate value. Select this anchor point down here and then paste the value and then press enter. Now both of these anchor points are aligned vertically. Next, let's copy this shape. We can use different copy methods as we mentioned earlier. For now, we're going to use the Alt key and drag this to the left like this to create duplicate. Now we need to make this shape flip. To do that, while it is selected, we go to Object menu, Transform and choose Reflect in here. A window will pop out like this. Another faster way to access Reflect window is to right-click and choose Transform Reflect. It is the same thing, only faster as we don't need to go all the way up here to access it. Okay, now make sure the vertical axis is selected and then click the OK button. Now our shape is reflected. Next, we need to grab the anchor point in here and snap it to this anchor point at the right side. To do that, we need to make sure the snap to point is active first. Go to View menu and see this option Snap to Point. Make sure it is on. Okay, now use the selection tool and hover until we reach the edge of it. We need to see the cursor change to something like this, indicating we're on an anchor point. Then click and hold it and then move it to the edge of the right shape until we see the cursor change color to white like this, indicating that our mouse cursor is indeed on top of an anchor point. Then we can release it. If you find the snapping behavior is too weak, you can always adjust the threshold by going to the Edit menu, Preferences, and go to Selection and Anchor Display and increase this value, okay? After both of these curves line up, press Ctrl J. Before we finish up, let's take a look at different approach creating the Batman logo using the curvature tool. As we mentioned before, curvature tool is a tool we can use to create path without having to worry about Bezier handle. So, start with the curvature tool active, and just like before, make sure the fill color is empty and have a black color for the stroke. Start by clicking in here, press Alt and click in here. Alt click in here and Alt click in here also. Click in here. Now press Alt and click in here. Click, Alt click and so on until we reach the edge of the tail. To adjust the anchor points and the curvature, just drag around these points until we have what we are looking for. Now let's say we want to make this curve a bit like that. We can click and drag from the curve. A new smooth anchor point is created and we can adjust it like this. If you don't like it, you can always press the delete button while the anchor point is selected to remove it. Pressing the delete button in the curvature tool will make the anchor point deleted, but the path will still be intact. Next, we want to create the left side. For this case, let's leave out the tail not aligned with the top head, okay? We're going to join them later with different approach. Unlike before, we're not going to copy it first, but right-click, transform, and reflect, and just click copy in here. Now snap this to here, okay? Direct selection tool, select both and Ctrl J. Now for the bottom ones, select both anchor points and Ctrl Alt J, which is basically average join tool that you can find in the object menu, path, average, as we discussed in our previous video. So there you have it, another Batman logo, but this time we use different tool to achieve it. By understanding the pen tool and the curvature tool, we can speed up our drawing process. Usually, I use the pen tool as the default, but when it comes to creating path where I need to create smooth curves, I rely on the curvature tool to do that. We'll see more examples later on when is the best time to use the pen tool and when to use the curvature tool.